He almost got us. It was all my fault.
Rin sat at the base of the mast and she kept her eyes closed, as if that would give her a small reprieve from imagining what could have happened. Those monsters looked wrong, with only the barest hint of what they once were.
If they had captured us, would we have turned into that?
I don't know. But hey, we survived, and now we have another great story to tell.
I froze up against Yongando. I put us in unnecessary danger with wanting to explore that place. What if next time
Unnecessary danger, she says. Rin, the Voyage is one giant mess of unnecessary danger. This whole thing is voluntary.
Rin slowly opened her eyes and gazed up at Lycos, who was kneeling over her. Masita was just behind him. A small smile was on Lycos' face.
Yes, that was dangerous. Really dangerous. But we're alive. What did you learn?
What did I learn? Well, some mysteries should be left alone.
And what else?
I learned that while courage is a wonderful trait, I can't be so reckless with it. I have to be smarter about the way I go about exploring and voyaging.
Isn't that the theme of the next island? Rin, I want to tell you something important. I'm really glad I came on this voyage.
You are? Really?
Yes. You see, before all this, I was just an average Shanado fisherman, content with the same waters, the same sunsets, and the same small patch of island. I never understood why you were so insistent about coming out here. Now, in this very moment, I finally get it.
You do?
Yeah. As we were fleeing Twango Eddy Island, I was so scared. And I've never felt more alive, or appreciative of being alive. I've gained so much perspective on how the world can be. And well, it's all because of you. You helped me grow. Thank you.
Rin rolled forward and grabbed her brother in an embrace.
Oh, Lycos, you big dummy. You've shown me much too. I realize there's more to voyaging and discovery than just being brave. I was willing to be courageous, have all the hope in the world, and I was willing to adapt. But you showed me what it means to be tough and more cautious with my plans.
And you've shown me that it's okay to step beyond my comfort zone and be more flexible. I was so used to doing things a certain way that I missed certain aspects of life's beauty.
Masita wrapped them both in a hug.
You two are so amazing! You both have reinvigorated my hope and love of life. Can you believe that we withstood the fury of Otatala, the majesty of Sudaiba, the gluttony of Yongando, and the terrors of the Twango Eti Island?
It all sounds so fantastical when you say it like that.
It is fantastical. But we're not done yet. Rin, neither Masita nor I can navigate the stars like you. Can you help us get to Fauna 2?
Yeah. Give me a moment to clear my head and I'll see what I can do.
Rin drew in a deep breath and then pushed the spiky tension out of her body. Despite her errors, she had overcome obstacle after obstacle. She wasn't alone either, and now Masita and Lycos needed her. She peered up into the star-filled sky, trying to find some point of reference. Fanatu Island crossed the axes of one-armed warrior and morbidly obese dolphin. If she could just find one of them, then maybe they could get a heading. She sat there staring for a long time, while Lycos sailed to the southeast from the accursed island. Through the course of preparing for the voyage, Rin had memorized dozens and dozens of star constellations. Firstly memorizing all of the main route star chains, followed by the means of finding the specific constellations needed to find the routes. And lastly, the axis arcs for each of the known islands. The sun started to rise as the barest hints of light started to melt into the eastern horizon. A wild excitement danced in her, and she thought really hard. She scanned the horizon once more, and then jumped to her feet.
There! The last constellation in the star route from Isiba Island to Fanatu Island is Jagged Sharktooth. It's there. We should head in that direction.
That a girl! We'll get to Fanatu Island in no time.
I knew it was bad, but I didn't imagine there would be so many lost Voyagers.
On other islands, the Voyagers' village was a lively, temporary community of excited people. But here, many of the Voyagers within sight frowned, or they donned serious expressions. Upon arriving, Rin, Lycos, and Masida found out they had arrived a day late, and the send-off ceremony would take place the day after tomorrow. As they were the last to arrive, they were given one of the empty tents at the entrance to the village. No sooner than they came upon a tent, a familiar voice called out to them.
By the goddess Sudaiba, you all made it.
Rin whirled around just in time to see Guahana slam into her. Guahana's arms hugged around her, and Rin returned to the embrace.
I'm so glad you're here too. Are your friends safe?
Yeah, we were among the lucky ones. During the shark attack, we were towards the front of the migration, but we saw the carnage from afar.
We were at the back, and we saw when it began. In fact, that monster swam right past me.
What? You saw Yongondo. How close were you?
Oh, pretty close.
It was thanks to this guy we managed to avoid getting eaten, and Rin navigated via the stars once we were out of danger. I did my best to keep up their spirits.
The Shinado Islands had a bunch of our tribe participate. Have you seen many of our fellow Shinado? I think our island had 4 teams.
I've seen other Shanado, but no one from those other 2 teams. I honestly thought you 3 were lost too.
Rin winced as she averted her eyes. Festering sourness floated in the bottom of her stomach.
Damn that shark demigod!
Double damn him, actually.
I know for a fact that at least 3 other Shanado canoes were lost. As bad as we have it though, the Siratasi have it so much worse.
What do you mean?
Yongondo started by going after them first, as they were underwater. I don't know the details, but they lost, like, 2/3 of their Voyagers.
Images of red clouds bursting under the water's surface replayed in Rin's mind's eye.
Where are they?
They're all grouped together that way. Well, those who were left anyway.
Rin sprinted in the direction where Guahana had pointed, not caring that she needed to get her tattoo. Tattoo be damned.
Rin!
Other people on the island, both Voyagers and servants, made way for her, as Rin was a sight to see. She bawled openly as she ran as fast as she could, perhaps even faster than she did on Twango Eddy Island. When she got to the beach where the Siratasi were at, her heart lurched. Only a dozen or so sails extended from the water, although there were so many more before. Few of the Siratasi played about in the water or swam. Most of them laid in the shallow waters. There were so many colorful people, but not the one she wanted to see.
Okuvo! Are you here? Okuvo!
Many of the Siratasi turned to regard her. Some of their expressions revealed confused natures, but some beamed mournful, pained looks. The tears built in her eyes again, and she sniffled as the anguish in her grew.
Rin!
Rin whirled to the left, and sure enough, the pink, purple, and blue Siratasi swam over to her from deeper waters. New, stronger tears fell from her cheeks, and once more, Rin sprinted. This time into the water. Alcuvo collided into her as the water came up to Rin's waist. She hugged them, and they hugged her back just as fiercely.
You're alive! I was so scared.
Tell me about it. I was afraid Yankondo got you. Are you okay? For real, though?
Rin looked into Alcuvo's eyes, and she held onto them. Her hands were laced together behind the Siretasi's back, and they had their arms draped over Rin's shoulders.
Yeah, we managed to get away from that damn shark. He almost got us, though. If you didn't warn us, thank you.
Of course. I couldn't have left you unaware. I lost so many of my friends that the thought of losing you was too much to bear.
Rin placed her forehead against Alcuvo's, but maintained the eye contact.
I'm so sorry. I wish there was something I could do.
Against the Great Hunter, there's little anyone can do. Voyages are supposed to be dangerous, but that doesn't seem fair at all. Still, knowing that you're alive makes me feel at least a little better. What happened to you after the attack?
We sailed away, I'm guessing to the north. And we found an island.
You found an island? Like, a new one?
Sort of, and at the same time, not. It's new to us because we didn't know it existed. The island is apparently where the 6th tribe of the Aoela was lost, and, well, turned into something horrid. We managed to get away, and I used the stars to find our way here.
You plotted a course using the stars in a place you've never been? You are so incredible. I would love to hear about this island.
I want to tell you, and I will, but can I please be a little selfish? The send-off ceremony is the day after tomorrow, and so we have another whole day. For now, can I just lay on the beach with you and hold you?
That sounds utterly marvelous.
See? I told you it'd be okay. Although, if her Siretasi lover wasn't alive, then yeah, we would have had to jump in for some major consoling.
Wait just a second. They can't be lovers. They're two different species. And besides, they're just hugging.
Oh, you. Rin didn't sprint through Voyagers' village in a hysterical state for just a friend. And that may look just like hugging, but the emotional energy saturating off of them. They may not have physically enacted their feelings, but trust me, lovers.
Masita took hold of his arm, and a wave of heat rolled over his insides. Lycos looked at her, and for a moment, his heart began slowly revolving in his chest. The sunlight glimmered in Masita's eyes, and they looked especially radiant.
Come on, let's give her some privacy. Besides, I think I saw a really nice spot when we were coming in. It looks really pretty there.
Lycos beamed one last look toward Rin, who was still clutching on to the pink, purple, and blue Siretasi. They were no longer in danger, on this island far from sharks and unspeakable things. He followed along and allowed Masita to lead him to a stunning stretch of beach. A tall rock wall extended from the shore and had a cliff edge far above much of the island. Masita and Lycos slowly started walking towards it, heading through the jungle and through the closest Fana 2 village. The village was quite unique, as it didn't look like what he had been accustomed to back home. The huts were larger and much taller, and he suspected that they all had second floors above the first ones. The roofs of the huts were made from clay tiles, and they had strange half-pipes running along the edges of the roofs. Small tubes ran down one of the walls and led to another pipe that was pointed away from the huts. The path between houses was wider, with drainage ditches that were on either side. Houses were collected in large circles, and at the center were stone wells. When Lycos asked one of the Fanatu tribe members about it, they told him they had discovered fresh water beneath the surface of the ground. It all sounded really strange to him. Mesita and Lycos eventually found their way up to the cliff overlooking the island, and it was through a dense patch of jungle. A strong wind blew up from the ocean, and the entire sea sparkled brightly in the sunlight. Thick trees and bushes were on both sides of the path, and for the most part, they were alone. Mesita sat down in the grass, perhaps 10 feet away from the cliff's edge. She patted the spot next to her, and then grinned up at Lycos with the same sort of mischief-filled energy she often conned Rin with throughout their childhood. Lycos complied, and he sat cross-legged beside her.
Well, I bet the sunrises here are amazing. You know, since we're facing east.
Yeah, I bet it is. We almost didn't make it, you know.
Yeah, I know.
You were right when you said we all contributed to our success and survival. It's true. However, I will admit, you two did more than me. I'm just here to help support Rin and, well, now you too. I just hope I'm actually being supportive. I can't navigate during crazy situations like you or look to the stars to find my way, so oftentimes I feel like I'm lost, stuck in the same place, trying to find my own way past the horizon.
I'm sorry that you feel that way. I can understand how it feels to be uncertain of where you're going. I mean, I stepped out of my comfort zone to do all this.
You stepped way out of your comfort zone. I'm so proud of you, Lycos. You've grown into such an amazing person who's strong, dependable, and resilient.
I've grown? You're the one who's come a long way. You used to be this crazy kid who liked encouraging Rin to push her limits. Well, you're still doing that. But now you try and keep both Rin and I focused on what's really important. You are the reason she's here, doing all this, you know?
No. I simply stood by as she chased her dream. Nothing more.
That's not true at all. You told her that her dreams and goals were attainable, even when others told her they were silly. You encouraged her to be the best she could be when others laughed at her. You were ready to go on this dangerous voyage alone, because at the end of the day, you are Rin's best friend. I'm so glad she has you in her life.
Really? You are?
Yeah, you bring out the best of her. And I got to meet you as a result.
100 birds formed in his stomach, and they flapped furiously to get out. To keep his mind off of them, Lycos stared out past the horizon. Once, not so long ago, he wouldn't have spared the horizon a glance, other than to verify the time. Now, well, it was different. When Lycos looked back toward Mesita, he noticed that she had scooted a little closer to him, and she gazed into his eyes intently.
So, tell me, do you have anyone waiting for you back home? Anyone special?
Waiting for me back home? Not likely, at least no one I care about. Not like that. I'm just a fisherman like so many other people in our tribe.
You used to be just a fisherman. But is that what you are now? Or once we finish the voyage?
I don't know. I suppose I'll find out when we finish?
I suppose we will. So, no one special in your life at all?
I didn't say that.
You braved the hunger of Yongandu and also escaped from a monster-filled island. And a conversation with a woman is making you scared.
Lycos averted his eyes for a moment.
You're not just any woman. Well...
Maceda's hand fell on his. He glanced over to lock gazes with her again.
I kinda had a feeling, but I didn't know for sure. It's mutual.
It is?
Maceda nodded and then leaned in closer, going slowly while never breaking eye contact. Their noses touched, and then she leaned in a little more. She didn't go all the way though, but lingered, waiting. Lycos closed the distance, soft lips pressed against his own, and her arms wrapped around his shoulders. His own hands gripped her hips, and she positioned herself onto his lap. Lycos pulled back to take a breath before going back in. He was eagerly greeted with another long kiss. Great urgency rose within him, and he pulled away again. Their eyes locked.
I never, I've never gone this far with anyone.
Don't worry. I'll show you the way.
Rin fingered the newest tattoo, which was quite strange. She didn't quite understand what the shapes represented, but she was told it symbolized knowledge and wisdom. The fourth band consisted of looping lines going up and down, then crossing over one another, almost making it look like a band of opened eyes, without irises. Instead of irises, these eyes had vertical lines etched within them, making little columns. It looked bizarre, but Rin still loved it nonetheless. The day prior, she and Alcuvo spent the whole day talking. They told each other about their trips, and even asked one of the Fanatu to tell them about the Sky People. It was all so fascinating. Her attention snapped toward the stage as a bald woman with a chieftain's headdress and staff stepped out onto it. She was an older woman, although her skin looked incredibly healthy. Her face didn't have many wrinkles, but her eyes revealed her vast experience. Just as expected, the chieftain had a completed Great Navigator tattoo. She waved at the crowd and then smiled at everyone as they got quiet.
This voyage carries significant importance for our cultures, and so we, the Fanatu, are pleased to be able to contribute. While we do not place our belief in the gods and goddesses, we recognize that many of you do. The voyage of the Great Navigators represents a historic journey of our ancestors. And also, each step of the journey represents a crucial factor of being a Great Navigator.
The chieftain paused and reviewed the crowd, perhaps waiting for the weight of her words to sink in.
Many of you have asked our people what your new tattoos mean, or what they are supposed to be. They are the symbols of special knowledge, of something that exists within us. The key takeaway from its meaning is that for you all to be successful in voyaging, both in this endeavor and in the pursuit of your own fates, you must have the intelligence to make the best decisions.
She drew in a breath and then placed her arms behind her back.
You must gather information and then process it. Great navigators use knowledge and wisdom given to them and obtained by them to make the most wise decisions. Courage without intelligence is folly that leads to death. Hope without intelligence is naive dreaming. Fortitude without intelligence is stubborn redundancy. Flexibility without intelligence is unnecessary gyration.
She frowned slightly.
Now, don't misunderstand me. Intelligence by itself has no action, no direction. It is one thing to be mentally bright, but it can equally be stagnating if any of the other crucial aspects are left out. For you to be successful in all things, you need to have all 5 facets. Now, please allow me to provide you all with some knowledge.
The chieftain pointed toward the east.
Siretasi Island. Your next destination is that way. However, we have observed a terrifyingly strong weather migration centered in the area between here and there. It is an unusual weather pattern, and some of you might claim it to be a test of the goddess Otutala. However, we can tell that it is simply a collection of winds and storm clouds, and that it shall pass within a day or so. We recommend that you stay here until it has passed. No matter what you do, go or stay, you have the blessing and the hospitality of the Fanatu.
The chieftain gestured to the crowd, and the crowd began dissipating. Rin turned to Lycos and Mesida.
So, are we going or staying?
It might be better to stay, but then again, it looks like others are headed for their canoes already.
It makes sense. I mean, this is the Voyage. Some of them want to be thrown against the might of Otutala and say they came through the other side. What is your Siratasi doing?
Alcuvo and other members of their tribe have decided to swim their canoes to Siratasi Island. They also observed it forming, and they don't want to linger here. Apparently, one of their great villages is in the area, so the Siratasi are a lot safer. Okay, what's going on?
What do you mean?
You two have been acting strange all morning. What's up?
You're imagining things. The only strange thing going on here is that none of the Fanatu believe in the gods or goddesses.
That's because they believe that star people were on the island before they originally settled on it and taught them something called, science? Anyway, if you say nothing's going on, then I believe you. For now. So, are we staying or going?
Well, it's not safe to sail into a storm. Having one hit us is one thing, but going into it could cause trouble. If we use intelligence, we can either wait it out or we could
Navigate around it! That's a great idea! It might take a bit to triangulate the best route.
Actually, I may know the best route to go to avoid the storm. And then gain that time back.
You do? Really? But how do you know?
Oh, how I know isn't important. It's just that I know. You two trust me, right?
Yes, of course.
Rin's eyes widened, and then a thought bubbled in her mind. It was such a small thing at first, but it began to grow. Rin locked gazes with Mesida, and in that moment, she knew. And she knew Mesida knew she knew. Or maybe Rin didn't know exactly what it was, but she knew. She opened her mouth to speak, but then paused.
You trust me, right, Rin?
You know I do.
Then let me plot the course.